report immediately to the Commandant's office, Cadet Mahoney.
Okay, Mahoney, get going. On the double, move it, move it, move it.
Welcome back to Retro Wednesday at the Titanium Hangar. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about the Kidder 1988 Police Academy toy line based on a cartoon that was based on a very popular movie franchise at the time. And we're going to talk about this. We're going to look at all the figures, vehicles, and both playsets. And I got to say that I really enjoy these types of videos. I like making the entire toy line video of a particular toy line of toys, specifically when they're small like this. Larger ones like G.I. Joe, Star Wars, and all of those, we need to be broken up into a lot of small categories or just individual pieces. For this, you can do it all in one shot, in one video, and those are a lot of fun. But anyway, we're going to get into looking at all of this coming up. First off, I want to quickly talk about the media that supports this, and this is a cartoon that I have never seen before. I didn't even know they made it. In fact, the whole time I was collecting this, I thought it was based on the movie, and we've seen that before. We've seen some Terminator stuff, but if Rambo had its own cartoon, this is having its own cartoon. And so with that, I found out, researching for this, that was a cartoon. It does not look like the greatest cartoon in the world, but it's pretty much all you got to support this line. But I kind of feel like people would enjoy these characters because they were in the movie, or the kids enjoy the characters because they were in the cartoon. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is establish scale for these figures. Now, there are some that are a little bit bigger and some that are a little bit smaller, but he's right in the middle, and this is kind of where it lands, right around a 4.5 to 5 inch mark. As you can see, we've got He-Man over here that's bigger, but we have the 3.75 inch G.I. Joe that is smaller. So where does this fit? Well, it fits in its own realm. So size-wise, I think it fits really well with Dungeons and Dragons, maybe just a little bit bigger and quirkier, but it is way off from the Ghostbusters. Kidder made the Ghostbusters, and it would feel like they're both about the same kind of a toy line based off a movie that was popular, that was based off a cartoon, and yet they're different scales. Okay, starting out looking at the figures, I think I want to break this up into Series 1, Series 2, and a third series called Special Assignment Rookies, but we're going to get into looking at all of these, and whether or not they're in order, it doesn't really matter. We're going to look at all of them. Okay, so first of all, we have Kerry Mahoney with the Samson dog. So looking at his cool little dog here, he has a dog that is kind of a giant police dog. I don't know what kind of dog he's supposed to be. He's got a tongue hanging out right there. It is the squeezy plastic, and he's supposed to shoot water. Of course, I am not going to put water in this thing, but that is what he is. This is a pretty common one. This whole figure is pretty common. Pretty much every figure in this line is more or less common. Some of the parts are kind of hard to find, but this is Kerry Mahoney, probably the most popular character in the TV show overall, and he looks really good. I mean, not exactly like the actor, but this is one of the better looking figures, and I think he's a nice looking figure. It looks like a cop. Wouldn't be bad to have a handful of these, just have background police officers in the toy line, but he has one gimmick. As we see with good old Kidder, they always have gimmicks. This belt is molded in and painted. It looks like a separate piece, but it is not a separate piece. They did a pretty good job with that. And this is his gimmick. It is to flip around like he's going to put it in his holster or something. Whoa, I'm flipping this around. Now he can do the same thing with the baton, and I've got another one because I don't really like swapping these parts out. Now the gimmick doesn't work as well with the baton. I mean, it's because it's so big, it just kind of gets hung up on his shoulder and stuff, but it's still there. It's still a gimmick. But a really cool figure, Kerry Mahoney. We're going to see him again in undercover disguise down the road. Okay, next up we have the Claw with Mauser Cat, and I always call this guy the cat burglar because he's set up to look like he's the cat burglar, and he does come with this little animal, this little kitten, and it's kind of like he's like, oh, scared. Like, what would a cat look like if you grabbed the cat by the back hair and just lifted it up? That's what the cat would look like, actually. It's kind of cool. It's kind of a fun little play on words for cat burglar, and he does have a cat paint stuff on there. He's got the, looks like a burglar, and he's got the whiskers and all that kind of stuff. Kind of cool. And these figures all have just the 5 points of articulation, except we're going to get to one that has 7 points of articulation, but it's the hips, the shoulders, and the head all move. Looking at the back, we do have a helicopter, and it plugs in. It's It just plugs right in. Kind of, well, it's different than what G.I. Joe did, but it's still the same concept. But it's got like a deeper plug on it. And that one just, and then you move this helicopter so he can fly away with the cat. This fishing pole is kind of hard to get. I found it kind of a challenge to get a fishing pole. A buddy of mine got me one, but pretty cool. And then there's something interesting too. I thought this was a variant, but it wasn't a variant. You could have a different color backpack, but this was made for Joker. It's like some sort of flying Joker, and Joker has a backpack, and it's a different type of backpack actually. It actually has it clips on the back of Joker, and it's kind of cool. So they reuse their stuff. Actually, they have, instead of orange, blue. So all the orange on this is blue for the Joxa release. So there's another variant. Okay, now we have Tackleberry with armed flak vest, and he's kind of have a crouching pose if you want him to stand, and his accessories clip on, but they don't always stay on. This is, if you remember Tackleberry from the movie and from the show, he's just heavily armored. He's got tons of guns. Guns. And with him, if you squeeze his legs, his arms go up. So that's his gimmick. So they all have a gimmick. Whether it's the figure or it's their accessories, there is some sort of a gimmick for these guys. So another gimmick of his is they have these little pieces on his vest. And they are just little rubbery pieces. You can clip the guns on, or I don't know if there's a set exact way to do it, but you can also clip these other pieces on. He comes with kind of like a hook type of a gun. I don't know what that's all about. And these cannons. Now I've got 2 extras of these that I'm going to use, and I'm going to show what it looks like when he's fully armored up and just going crazy. Alright, squeeze the legs, and he's got his guns. Guns, going crazy. And it's not perfect. Trying to get it on camera and not have him flying off comes quite a challenge, but yeah, we're going to see him again though in a different version, and it's pretty cool. Now, one more thing I do want to say about him is this is the only figure, which I don't even think his other version has this, but his arms rotate like this so that he can ride the motorcycle. We're going to see the motorcycle again, him on the motorcycle later. Alright, so next up we have Larvell Jones with the bullhorn, and he's got super retro 80s shoes on and some sweatpants going on, and he's got the headband that he puts on, and he's going to be in karate uniform here in a bit, but so we got 2 releases. So he's got a couple of cool things. The reason he's kind of leaning back is to counterbalance that bullhorn so he can hold it, and so that's a challenge. It is definitely a challenge, and it's also supposed to be like a kazoo for kids to blow in and whatever, but I'm not gonna mess with all that. Now the bullhorn itself, so it's a role play, a mini role play for kids, and it does have a nice cops kind of police academy thing on there. Now, looking at him as the figure, he has one feature, and if you move his arm, his mouth moves, and you can do the whole thing where he talks like I am talking like I don't speak English. Okay, so that's kind of the crazy thing he did in the movie and the show. I don't know if the TV show, because I really don't watch the TV show, but this other accessory of his is kind of like a Walkman, walkie-talkie kind of thing, radio, handset, and it's just got like a little piece to move. So that's really about all he does, and he actually does sort of sit well on a motorcycle also, so we'll see his karate version, extra karate version on a motorcycle. So next up we have Moses Hightower. This is sort of a play on how big dudes like small vehicles, and that's kind of a joke. I mean, it's a running gag, I guess, in movies or TV shows, or maybe just in real life. Boing. Still, this is really a terrible scooter that he's on. It's like a little mini scooter, or I feel like it's kind of like a tricycle. There's not much to it. It folds up. It doesn't go on his back or anything that I can see, but it's pretty common that it's out there. It says 1989, Warner Brothers. So we'll put that aside and take a look at this dude here. So he looks pretty cool. He is bigger than the average figure. He is incorporated knee articulation. So that's another one that actually has extra articulation. So not very many of them do. Here's how much bigger he is than Mahoney. So he is probably the tallest of them. He doesn't have the most mass. That's House has the most mass. So looking at this guy, he's got pretty good paint on him. He looks good front and back. And he's another one that you'd want to have a few of for background officers, so that you can kind of have what a lot of guys in blue, right? But he also has this other gimmick where, actually, let's, for whatever reason, he pulls down. And I know why, because right here in the playset, he can do pull-ups, and he's like the only one that can do pull-ups like this. So not really sure why his gimmick is really surrounded around the playset, in my opinion. But you can also just move his hands and get him wherever you want. He also works really well on the cycle we're going to see later on. Next up, we're going to take a look at Mr. Sleaze. So this is guy, looks like he's just some rando dude walking down the street, walking his poodle or whatever that dog is. And so we'll look at the accessory. So you got a third animal in here, and for whatever reason, and I still don't understand why, but you can pull the wool off of the dog, or the hair and fuzz. Maybe it's like a gimmick, like, oh, in a cartoon where the fur just comes off and whatever. So I don't know. I don't really know. That gimmick is lost on me 100%. And his gimmicks are very fragile, so to the point that people feel like all these are broken. But you pull his leg and his tie comes up and his gun shoots out. So it's like, wait, I'm innocent. Haha, but I got a gun on you. So it's really strange. This is a very, very common figure. Really easy to get. Is he easy to get working in working condition? Every one that I've got, that I've come across that I had problems with, I've just fiddled with it a bit and I got it to work. So it's Kenner, and Kenner's made pretty well, but these gimmicks, they're not made all that well. He's an alright figure. I just think that he's a little bit of a waste with the gimmick, but it's still kind of cool to have him. Maybe you could just use him as a background character. Alright, next on the agenda here is Numbskull with smashing helmets, and this is a cool looking figure. He looks like a mean bad guy. He looks like something. He actually looks like a Conehead. I am the proud Conehead. I've come from the planet whatever, Dan Aykroyd, you know, with Conehead. And he comes with two helmets, and so they're interchangeable, swappable helmets. Now the Joxa versions, I think, are both just like yellowish orange, and these are different colors. So this is this is an improvement. Some of the Joxa stuff looks cooler, and the stuff from Argentina, but some of the US ones look cooler. So it's just like really funny how sometimes they make improvements and sometimes they make them worse, but it just really does this. And why would you want to move his arm and have him do that? Well, I don't know. You're under arrest. No, I'm not. Now looking at his other helmet, it's like a giant hammer, but it still doesn't do much different. I guess you could just go around and he can hammer stuff in, but his feature is still the same, so I don't know anyone that hammers like this. But anyway, it's cool, it's interesting. He's definitely a bad guy, and you gotta have bad guys. And some of the toy lines, like G.I. Joe, had great bad guys, so quite successful. You gotta have good bad guys. The final and 8th figure in Series 1 is Zed on the police skateboard. Now, this is going to be a character and a figure that you're either going to love or hate, I guess. If you liked the character and the way he talked and the way he acted, well, this kind of does work. I guess he, out of any character I can think of, him as a bobblehead would make sense. It does kind of make sense. And if you bobble him around too much, he loses his helmet and his hat. And that's not a helmet, his hat. And so it just kind of clips on. Now this is where you start seeing they have holes in the hats to, I think, clip on a little bit better. When we get to another figure that has a hole in a hat, you're going to see why there's a hole in that hat. But with this, this basically just a little cheap skateboard. It's got a little cheap antenna. This toy line, everything, it feels kind of cheap on it. Like they're trying to hit a low price point. I think there were $6 figures in 88. And then you push this button back here and his pants fall down, and then you can see his hearts on his underwear. And that's really all he does. His arms move up and down a little bit. He's got that ripped off sleeves on his chest and all that kind of stuff. He has the molded in. He has the handcuffs that they sell. I'm not getting into any of the roleplay stuff here, but yeah, there's Zed. Love him or hate him. Getting into Series 2 here, one of these being a Mellowweight figure. There's 5 figures in this series, if my information is correct. But we're going to take a look at each one of these anyway. But my one carded figure is actually from Series 3, or they call it the Undercover series, Special Assignment Rookies. Anyhow, I don't have any sort of an offer on that, so let's go ahead and take a look at the Melloway figure first. So this Melloway figure is Captain Harris, and he is a bit challenging to get. The hardest one in the toy line to get. He doesn't have a card back, so he's one of those that it doesn't have a card. He has a brown box and some plastic wrap and some paper. It's really strange, but he does have some crazy accessories that are a bit challenging to get also, because of course he was only a Melloway, and I actually heard somebody say that they got the Melloway and that they didn't get Captain Harris, they got House instead. I guess they ran out of this figure. It was more popular than they thought. So anyway, getting into this though, he does have a few different features. So we're going to go through one at a time. He does have this baton of his, which is cast in sort of bronze or gold. It's a different gold than what we see in the same series. This chest here is this is gold, and that's like more of a bronze. So, in my opinion. So this thing here is a challenge to get that. We're going to move that aside so we can get to the other things. We have these bug eye. This is called a bug eye binoculars. And when you push in on it, it bug eyes out. That's kind of ooga ooga. So it's kind of cool stuff that's going on right there. And I'm going to move this a little bit out of the way. He does have an extra point of articulation in his arm. And he does look good. It's a nice looking figure, a very nice looking figure, a lot of good paint detail. But if you move his arm like this, he has the next feature, which is the knock his hat off when he salutes. Crazy saluting action or something like that. That's what they call it. So really a nice figure, one of the better figures, one of the better looking figures in the toy line. And it's funny too because his hat actually has, it's like a toupee that is worked into his hat. So he knocks a toupee and his hat off at the same time, which I think is pranks or jokes in the movie and maybe in the TV show too. So a great figure. I think the baton looks better in his right hand versus his left hand, but then it kind of does away with the feature for knocking his hat off. So you can't really knock the head off with that in his hand. Anyway, Captain Harris, one of the cooler figures, had to be a Melloway. Okay, next we're moving on to Tackleberry in his SWAT uniform. So he has some different stuff than in his other Tackleberry, which real quick we can do a quick side-by-side and you can see they look different but yet the same. He does have these goggles that pop up, but it's a different head sculpt and a different expression on his face. So it's not as lazy of reuse as you would think, and I don't really think they really reused much from this figure, different poses on the arms and all that kind of stuff. And he doesn't have the extra articulation in the arm. It looks like he's got the strap for this face mask piece that he's got going on, SWAT team, and a little bit of paint apps here and there, and not much to this figure, but he has one party trick. He has this big old punching glove bazooka. And he actually does show up in the show. In the intro, he blows through, well, it doesn't really blow through the wall. He puts a dot on the eye on police, and for some reason, it's not shooting a second time. It's got to get the air sucked back in this. And then, shoot. Well, shoot. Yeah. I really don't think they should have made the same characters multiple times in such a short run of a toy line. The next character we're going to take a look at is Flung High, which I don't know anything about the character in the cartoon or in the movie. If he was in the movie, I don't remember him. But it is a pretty cool kind of a ninja-style figure in a way. Maybe he's got a couple things. He's got nunchucks, which with his action feature, he uses that. He does an extra point of articulation, which is not a holding. It's not tight, tensioned. So it's made to move around as you use the action feature. He has this belt. I don't know what is on it. I don't know what this whole belt thing's about. And he does have a different version where his belt, and then whatever this is, it's like a loudspeaker slash, I don't know what it is, but it is yellow. There's also, well, this is all kind of orange versus yellow, but there's also I guess there's a more orange version than this, because they say a yellow and an orange, and this doesn't look too orange. But anyway, so let's go ahead and get into the gimmick, and the gimmick is real simple. He just does this. Yeah, he does look like he's wearing a headset too. So maybe this is music, like a Walkman, and those are headphones, and he's just jamming as he goes and plows through beating up bad guys. But pretty cool looking figure overall. It's kind of fun, and it kind of does break up the look of a bunch of officers to just throw this guy in there. Next up is another baddie, Kingpin. It kind of reminds me of the guy that was at Bartertown in Mad Max 3 Terrordrome. And with that, he was the guy that was making the deals and all that kind of stuff. That's who it reminds me of, sort of. But anyhow, maybe that actor played a role in one of the movies. I don't know. I need to go back and watch these movies. I only watched a couple of clips and kind of familiarize myself with it. He's got some gold chains. He's pretty well off because his crime is doing really well for him. Let's see how much money he holds in here. And he's got some money in here. And so with that, I think each one of these is like $300. Yeah, at the time that was a lot of money. Nowadays, that doesn't sound like quite as much. That might be what the playset goes for, right? So this thing does a few things. First off, as you can see, you can open up, store the money in there. I think there's supposed to be 3 sets of these. And then you open this up. And then someone comes along, like he's going to put some money in it. And say Mahoney comes along and... he caught Mahoney. Or maybe that trap was meant for him. But he outsmarted Mahoney. Like, next up we have Larvell Jones. And he's Series 2. And do they call him just Karate? They just call him Karate. So 2.0, version 2.0. He comes with a backpack which is detachable, but it's not detachable. You can't really put it on anyone else, I don't think. So there is that. He has a foot with articulation right there on his backpack. He is in a ninja costume. He does have his headband on. He also had his headband on his first figure. Now this does something. It's all in the backpack. The gimmick's all in the backpack, but if I can get it situated right, he hits and kicks at the same time. It's hard to get on camera, but so he's giving someone the boot and he's putting the smack down with the glove, and it looks like he's got all like a big contraption. He's got pressure gauge and all kinds of stuff going on right back here, hoses and stuff built in. But kind of a silly, weird looking toy. Hard to stand this guy up. Like, you've really got to get him in a He-Man crouching position to stand properly, or try to figure out some sort of way to counterbalance it with this foot over here. I don't know. Bring this forward for weight. There's things you can do to make them stand better. Okay, so we have Series 3 or Special Assignment Rookies. So I guess you could say it's not a Series 3, it's Special Assignments, but whatever. It's still really some different figures. Two reused figures in this line. So, but 2 new ones, 2 reuse. A lot of reuse in this line of characters and recycling of characters. Maybe because they didn't think that fleshing out some female characters would sell. They should have. This would have been the opportunity. This one up is Undercover Carrie Mahoney, and he comes with this special vest, and he comes with a couple of other things. He's got a white shirt on, so he's undercover under his vest. Like, he looks like a normal dude just walking down the street with his vest, but look at me. So, still, it's pretty cool, and he's got his hat here with some paint chipping. Now, he has a face, like a fake face mask that he would wear over that, and he's got a boombox. We'll look at that here in just a second. And here's the back of him. So he just looks like some sort of an average Joe. But here is the packaging. I have one in the package. And with that, here is how much bright whiter his shirt is if he hasn't been out getting played with. So a couple of cool things. He does have a boombox, which doubles as handcuffs. So figure can put their hands in their handcuffs. Does have a sliding mechanism here where you can slide this out and it turns into a gun. Theoretically, I guess. And then this is his mask that slides over his hat bill, and you can see kind of, I guess, his nose in there and stuff. And then, of course, there's the vest that it comes with. So, as you can see, it's not called Series 2 or anything. Special Assignment Rookie Series 3, and you don't see any sort of offers on them. But one cool thing about this is the back of this. It literally shows the entire toy line. So, I don't know if all the card backs wouldn't show this, except for the fact that this one is a card back that has everything on it. And before we get into the vehicles, these two are never produced. The Four-Wheel Basher and the Crime Mulcher, those are prototype only. And if people even wondered if the prototypes even exist, well, they have to for this picture. But this is a nice little checklist. Look at the base, or that down there, all the roleplay items, and all of the figures. Series 1, 2, and 3. Pretty good. So next we have Snack Attack House. This is House, and he is a big dude, and he's got a really nice police officer uniform on him and a bit of a belly on him, and he's got some leg articulation and arm articulation. But his main gimmick, he has no gimmick on himself, but his main gimmick is this gun. And so with that, you can see that it's a sandwich launcher, and it has a big, it's rubbery sort of strap that's in there. It's sonic welded into it, so there's really, I don't think there's any way to swap it. So if you had like a broken one of these, trying to swap that piece would be impossible. So here we go with Snack Attack, and it shoots this, which you don't want to lose. And does it have something going on right here? It seemed like it might have had a wheel or something, but you're shooting a giant sandwich. It's a giant hoagie, or whatever you want to call it. So pretty cool. It's one of the harder ones to get because it's a later series. The figure himself pops up a lot. Just his gun with that strap and the sandwich. That's the hard part. Next up we have Sweet Chuck Stakeout, which he evidently hides in things all the time. That's his thing. That's what he does. And it's all he does. No, it's actually not all he does. So you can just open this up, and he's in a fire hydrant, and then he can come out of the fire hydrant. And I guess once he leaves the fire hydrant, he actually turns the water back on, so it can function as a fire hydrant. So the figure himself looks pretty cool. It's a short dude, so let's bring in Mahoney. And as like I said some of them are taller, some of them are shorter. So I do like that they're not all exact same size, and there's a little variability to each one of these figures, so that variety is helpful. So when you wind this up, and then he's going to take this flashlight and just swing it. So, yeah, it's alright. It's Kenner. It's a Kenner design, something that Kenner does. And we're going to see him again when we get to the Copper Corner playset. Next up is Sky Glidin' Zed. Sky Glidin' Zed is a pretty cool looking figure. I like this one way better than the first one. The first one they made I thought was just really terrible overall. And this one I just like a lot more. Looking at them, they did not reuse the head sculpt or really anything from this, and I just think it looks a lot cooler. And although this is probably what you remember Zed from, this actually sort of honors him a little better, I guess. Having a giant backpack on him, his center of gravity's way off. I mean, I feel you, man. My center of gravity's off too, so there we go. And here he is with his backpack. Now, I've seen this reversed, where you could actually unclip this and this here, and then flip it around. Somebody was showing that they had the handlebars down below, and that's kind of cool too. So if that's something you want to do, I guess it's something you can do. Maybe I've got mine set up wrong. Anyway, I don't really care. It looks kind of cool. And you can do this to flap the wings so he can fly around. And the other thing about this is I don't think it's actually official, but I find that it feels like he actually belongs in this spot on the playset. There's a cutout in the roof on the playset where the wings will hold him in place, and then he can just kind of take a dive off of there. Feels like that's where he belongs. Taking him out of the contraption here, he has 2 holes, and there's some ports, and so nobody else can use this backpack, which sucks. Really, I mean, I guess you could force somebody to hold on to it maybe, but really there's no interchangeability with this accessory, which it does kind of suck. But he has one more gimmick where you see this, which I don't know if it's metal or if it's just vac metallized, but I think it is die cast. And you spin that, and you spin his hat. So, that's all we got for Sky Glidin' Zed. Next up we have the Crash Cycle. So this is a motorcycle, and it is kind of cool. And this is going to get into something that I'm going to talk about, and I should have talked about it sooner, that most of these figures and some of the vehicles and stuff go for about the same price, new in the package, or new in an open package, or new in sealed package, for about the same price as if you were to try to buy a loose one complete. So loose complete on these, they sell for about $40. New sealed ones sell $40 to $50. So you might as well just get yourself a new one, open it up, and enjoy it. There's so many on the market, and I don't think anybody's going to get mad if you open a Police Academy figure. I mean, that's not a big deal. It doesn't really matter. It's your money, your toys. So there's a couple things about this. So I do have 2 of them. It's just kind of fun to have some motorcycles around. First of all, I do want to point out that it has a flag that can be placed to go either direction. So since I have 2 of them, they're each in opposite directions. kind of fun. Has these training wheels which hold it in place. It helps it stand up, and it helps make it feel like goofy and funky. You got these exhaust pipes on there, which one of them is facing down. It's weird, and then one's facing to the side. It's like it's exhaust pipes are made of plumbing. That's strange. And then in the front, we do have this, which will pop down once we do the gimmick. The gimmick. Headlights on here, so stickers on the headlights. So you got red, white, and blue right there. Cop colors for the when the sirens go on, and then we have the Police Academy symbol right there. So tailgate says Nutso. Nutso Butso. Watch this, though. Watch this. This is what it does. This is all it does. It's all he does. You push this down and back, and it flings him up. But I got him on there gripped on really good, so he doesn't lose all his accessories. That's it. That's all it does. If he was a lesser of a figure, let's see what happens with Hightower. Hightower, now the problem with Hightower, he looks like he fits on this perfect, but his grip is too narrow. It's not wide enough, so he doesn't really have a good grip. Maybe it'll fling him off. I haven't tried yet. Yeah, it kind of throws him over like so. That's what it's supposed to do, I think. It's supposed to like do something, throw him over. I don't really know, but it's a fun little motorcycle. It's a cool looking motorcycle. It displays really well, and it makes a lot of sense for the cops, the police, to have this. All right, so this is the Crazy Cruiser, and as you can see, it's got some figures inside of it, and I've got 2 figures in the front showing that they fit, and then Kingpin chilling in the back to show that he fits. So with this, it's an interesting kind of vehicle. It's got some weight behind it, I guess, especially with the figures in it, and so there's some stuff going on. It's got exhaust, it's got a sticker. I don't really know if you put the sticker on and then the exhaust. Of course, I got mine used and loose, way cheaper than this one here. New goes for well over $100, so and you can get a good used one of these for probably like, I don't know these days, but looking at this, it's got a few features. Let's go ahead and get into the first feature. Pushing down on that, you see a burglar. It's got a burglar in his engine, so I'm not sure what that's about. Maybe it's in the cartoon. I'm pretty sure everything that pops up in these is in the cartoon. It says Crazy Cruiser on the front license plate. Then he has this. This is like the spotlight in its down position, and up here we have these lights, and then these don't really work, but they're lights too. And then the top flips up, so getting into those features. This side looks about the same as the other side. Doors do not open at all. So looking at the back, he's got some stickers on here, and it looks like the stickers, yeah, they're a bit worn. I was like, why would those stickers look worn on it? I guess it's just actual real wear. It's supposed to look like that. It says "Too bad for you." Too bad for you. So what happens when you push that "Too bad for you"? It pops this open. Now, there's 2 ways to put figures in here. So this figure here, if you had a small enough figure, you can load them to the top. But you can also pop this cage, or the little gel cell in the back seat cage, and put Kingpin in here. It really only has, it looks like it's got 2 seats, but it's only got room for 1 figure for the most part, unless you get 2 real small ones. I mean, you can fit 2 of the little claw cat burglars in here, probably cram those in there if you want to. Now, there are foot pegs here, so you can put figures on that. For whatever reason, if you want to fit 4 figures on there, you can fit 4 figures on there. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but it's playability. And then the only way to really get figures into the driver's seat is lifting up this top and cramming them in there like so. They fit. Crazy Cruiser. That's all that I really know about this toy. The bottom of it, you have a wheel here so that it can support itself, and they can all independently roll, and a double wheel right here that can all independently roll on its own as it splits into 2 and this goes off in another direction or something like that. I guess the idea is the bad guys broke it open to break him out. Now, the one weird thing about this, it has an antenna that clips into this little slot right here. You can only put it in one spot. So I would think that if they're making it like this, where you have a removable antenna, that it would clip into a couple of different places. But that's the only spot you can clip it. And so with that, it's weird. It's strange. And it gets confusing. Like, there's that antenna, then there's this antenna, and then there's the antenna on the bike, and all of that. And they're all different, so strange. That was confusing at first. So next up we have the copper corner, and so this is it's like a toll booth kind of thing, and we're gonna have a bad guy come in here, and he's just like, going into the toll booth, and he's going to go in here and he's going to answer the phone. I thought there was a foot peg, so there's not a foot peg in there. You close the door, and then so a few things happen with this. So they've got him in there. I don't know why, but when you roll it, the street sign moves, and I'm missing the part that holds the street sign in place, and a lot of these are missing that. Of course, I didn't really want to spend too much money on this thing, so I got the cheapest ones I could find. Here we go with a mailbox, and inside this mailbox is a Sweet Chuck. So I don't think Sweet Chuck came with it. Maybe he did. I don't know. I don't really know. I got mine used and abused. So I don't know if these were ever released in the U.S. either. So this Sweet Chuck is always doing the hiding stuff. This mailbox slides over this, and there is his head sticking out. So moving this around again. Now we have this here. It's supposed to have some sort of a lock-looking thing on it, I guess, a picture. So this goes up, and then, yeah, if you push it over to the side like that, it locks it in place. And then with that, there's supposed to be another chain or something that you put on this that clips onto this to hold the door closed. And so everyone comes to arrest this guy, and I don't know what the trash can significance is, so there's probably something about a trash can. So this is a silly little playset, but it was something. At least they tried something. But I kind of think they were like, we didn't finish Kenner Superpowers, and we really wanted to make a toll booth for this reason. Oh, Clark Kent! We need Superman. Call Superman. Da-da-da-da! Oh, so maybe this is a Superpowers playset. So the grand finale is going to be looking at the Precinct, the Police Academy Precinct playset. And before we get into it, I do need to say this is not a reuse of the Ghostbusters Ghost House, which I talked about last week, but let's talk about it again. Okay, I want to quickly dispel any and all myths about these two playsets being the same. The Ghostbuster Firehouse and the Police Academy Precinct. They're both made by Kenner. They both look very similar in style, but they are way different in proportion. They probably both have the same amount of plastic in them, but as you can see, the Precinct is way, way shorter. When you get to look at something as simple as the front doors being way bigger right here, obviously for the Ecto 1, but the front doors look similar, like a similar style to it, but they're blue, but they're different. And if you also look at the figures are shorter here. This playset is shorter. The playsets don't even open up on the same side. This is the left side. If you're looking at the front, this is the left side where it opens up. This one opens up on the right side. This is much longer. It's much deeper. So way different playsets, but they do look like they could be two buildings on the same street, which I think is really cool, really cohesive from Kenner. Okay, so let's take a look at this thing. It is super skinny and super long as a playset would go. This is a nice sticker. They show the Police Academy. There's windows. You can see the figures and characters. Let's do a little bit better zooming. But you can see that I have characters in there with the windows. There's no plastic. It's just open. And then we have this right here, which is kind of a... what is it? This is a video camera. I thought it had articulation to it. It looks like it's got articulation. It does not. It literally just plugs in right here. And then once it's plugged in, it doesn't move very well. You do have these front doors that it's kind of like... It's funny with these front doors. When they open up, it's kind of like when you walk into a front door of a house and the stairs are right there. My wife hated that. We could not buy a house that had that issue. The stairs are literally right 3 feet or 2 feet from walking in the door. Well, you have the jail cell right in there. Usually the jail cell is a little bit further back. That's not your your first thing you see is the jail cell, but that has to do with the feature. It has a welcome mat, which is always coming up. Every one of these I see the stickers peel on this real bad. You got these things right here, which I don't know, little nubs or something, lights. So let's see the back of this. So looking at the back, or you could say the side, but in my mind, in my display, the way I displayed it is the back. So this here is like a giant hole busted out of the brick, and it's been chipped away and it's worn and all that kind of stuff. It is just a cool looking building. Even if you didn't have the figures in it, this would be a fun playset that I wouldn't mind having a couple of to just display other figures in. So it's really a cool looking playset, and it is the draw that got me into collecting this toy line. because I had the ghost house, and this looked like the ghost house, but it wasn't. And I just liked it. It felt like they're on the same block. Here we are with the back, and there's a hole, and I never even noticed that hole. It looks like something should plug into there. I don't know. Another video camera? I don't know. So it seems like something should plug into that. It doesn't. There is a sticker here and cadet entrance and some cool stuff just on the side. Getting up here to the top of this, you can see that this is where I had the Zed figure, and this is kind of a gun with a tire, and it is adjustable up and down. And I really thought, because of the hole and stuff in it, that it had maybe something that would be a projectile or add on to that, but it's supposed to shoot this target, and I think the joke is that they never hit it. Let's get Tackleberry on this. He'll definitely hit the target and make it spin. Looking at the inside, there are a lot of features that are going on with this playset, and as you can have some figures in here, there's a stair step right there. This ladder can fold up, and it's designed in a crevice to hold in place out of the way, or you can put it down, and you'd think it doesn't get lost. The ladders get lost real easy. The weird thing is these little things here almost never get lost, so that's cool. And then we get over here, and so there are 3 more features right here. Well, 4 actually. This is like a height chart. So Numbskull is over 6 foot tall, and so is Captain Harris. So that's kind of cool. I don't know if you can see that, the chart, but Captain Harris is plugged into a into a foot peg. There's a few foot pegs in there so that he doesn't fall over and I don't lose his accessories, and especially when I go into doing this. So now House is going to press this button here, and we're going to lose Numbskull into the jail. So that is definitely something. Now I just lost the ladder, not the former, but the ladder. Okay, so that is number 1, and then you just push it back up and reset it into place. Then the other thing is, say we have the claw guy right here, and he's sitting in the chair. Now I've seen somebody use fishing line or something to pull the chair, and he falls out like so. And I wouldn't put an expensive figure in there, which none of these are really that expensive, except Captain Harris. And then push that back up, and then claw figure walking along could fall through the carpet. The carpet covering the hole, and there's the hole in the floor. Getting down here, there's a few things on the lower level. You can open the gel cell door, and you can slam them into the slammer if you want to. And then if they make a break, they can make a break by pushing this. It slings this open. My spring needs some help. I can feel a little resistance, but not much. And so, yeah, that's another feature. Getting over here, yeah, my spring needs lots of help. Getting over here, we can see that there is there's a couple of stickers in there, and then for whatever reason we have this foot locker kind of going on in there. It's a workout room where they can get their workout on, and they can store stuff in their locker. And then there's another sticker over here, which I'm not able to get on the camera, but it's supposed to be a mirror, I think. Anyhow, pretty cool playset. The Precinct, I like it just because it looks like a cool building. Again, another playset that sold me on an entire toy line, and it is really that cool, and you could put other things in it that aren't part of the Police Academy. We can't forget this one gimmick of Hightower, and this is the only reason he has his articulation, so he can do pull-ups, I guess, I don't know. Would you put him the other direction so you can actually see his face? Maybe, that would be cool, but I don't know. It's something that exists, so there it is. I sure hope you liked this look at the Kenner 1988 Police Academy toy line. This was pretty much everything that was made. I've got to say that it's a little quirky, but a little bit of fun, and Kenner always thought about some play value in it. Now, this toy line's probably not for everybody, and mostly just people that have maybe had it as a kid or had one as a kid or just enjoy it, but I actually really enjoyed the playset, and I picked the playset up with a whole bunch of stuff with it, so I just enjoyed fleshing out the rest of the toy line and having some fun with it. So hope you had some fun too on this Retro Wednesday. Tajir Hanger out.
report immediately to the firing range. Lieutenant Harris.
Excuse me.
I would like to introduce to all of you my instructor, the man who taught me how to fight.